I would call you a pretty self-hating black man, to be honest. For example, you make statements
You call me that?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, good. You call me that?
Yes.
What do you call me?
A pretty self-hating black man.
What the?
Yeah, listen.
And why?
It's not to be offensive.
No,
I think it's just
be offensive.
Okay.
And today, are you acting white or black right now?
I'm acting like myself.
But you sound white.
I don't think I sound white
No,
at
you
all.
speak pretty white.
Jesse Lee Peterson wrecks this pro-black guest over race and affirmative action in this clip as Jesse Lee Peterson trolls this guy for sounding white along with his ridiculous answers while this person attempts to troll Jesse Lee Peterson back, claiming he just hates himself in this interview. Let's get in.
Do you believe in internal racism?
Oh, absolutely.
Internalized racism?
Absolutely.
Because I read that in 2020 you put out a video on internalized racism.
Sure, it was a
and
very
self-hatred.
painful experience. Yes.
What is internalized racism?
Well, in my case, and I think it can vary from person to person, in my case, internalized racism kind of demonstrated itself in the sense that I had all of these negative stereotypes specifically about black people that I realized it gave me this sort of mentality that I needed to impress white people. So then in certain circles, I would change my way of speaking. I would carry myself in specific ways so as to distance myself from what I considered to be blackness. And I felt that I realized that my doing that was based on a lot of these misconceptions and negative stereotypes of black people. And I think that realizing that was really painful for me because it made me realize there was a part of myself that I was disliking.
And so when you be around white people, you will act white?
Sure. I would maybe
Is that
just
what
change
you mean
my
by?
Yeah, sure. I would change my diction, change my interests, and kind of chameleon-like fit in with white people while doing everything to distance myself from blackness.
And then when you're around black people, you act black?
Sure.
And,
I think it's called code switching.
What way will you become black?
I think I changed my diction quite a bit. I think my musical choices would be different. I like all genres of music except for like pretty much heavy metal. But like, for example, I like country music. I wouldn't listen to country music around black people. I wouldn't like volunteer that I like country music back in the day. Just those kinds of things where it was just anything culturally black, I would intentionally just kind of distance myself from it.
Really? And what made you do that?
I don't know. I was raised in a pretty white society, where I grew up, and I felt like I had experienced a decent amount of racism. And I think part of my response to avoid conflict was to just try to distance myself from blackness.
Oh, I see. And today, are you acting white or black right now?
I'm acting like myself.
But you sound white.
I don't think I sound white
No,
at
you
all.
speak pretty white.
I think I
You
speak
speak
intelligently.
all correctly and intelligent.
Do you not think black people can speak intelligently?
No.
Well, what am I?
But I'm
Do you think
trying
I'm
to
a black
figure out
person?
now, are you being white with me or are you being black with
Oh,
me?
I speak like myself. So here's what
But
it
you
is.
sound white.
Okay, I disagree with that. I think black people can speak rather intelligently.
Where are they?
Right here in front of you.
No, other than you.
My family, all of them.
Oh, they act white.
I don't think they act white. I think they speak intelligently. I'd say this. So my mother, very college educated woman, she really instilled very much, and her father, who wasn't college educated, were really, really big on just speaking properly. And I think we grew up with this as like a, part of just something that was necessary. We got chastised by other children for speaking white.
Other black children.
Other black children, for sure. And I think those sorts of things, it created some sort of distance. So in the sense that you start feeling like a loss of a sense of belonging because certain people are chastising you for speaking differently than they do.
Especially being kids and growing up like
Yeah,
that.
for sure. And I think you start internalizing a bunch of those things and you start feeling like, man, maybe I'm not black enough, or maybe I'm, and all of those kinds of things. And so I think I've overcome a lot of that. That's
So do you
immature
identify
thinking.
more with white or black?
I'm a black man and I identify with blackness.
You do? You
I
date
just realized
white
that all
girls?
of this is a black part of the
Do
black
you date
experience.
white girls?
No, I do not.
You don't date white girls?
No, I date black girls exclusively.
When you were white, did you date white girls?
I don't think I was ever white, but I would say when I was around white people, I found everyone attractive. I think probably the last 3 years when I kind of moved more black exclusive.
And so do you, at one time you dated white girls? Were
Sure.
you more white?
Sure, I've been with white women.
You've dated white women? Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Is it? I think, they're women.
What?
They're women. They're just like anyone else.
Do you date Mexican women?
Oh my gosh, those were my favorite in high school. My Spanish used to be on point.
See?
Yeah.
So what is self-hatred?
I would think self-hatred is, again, oh my gosh, I think one of the easiest way of exemplifying it, there was this doll test that happened with these young children where they were doing, like, I think from like 4 to 6 to 7 years old, and they had them answering questions about attributes of dolls, white and black. And the kids are able to immediately, like when they ask them about negative attributes, they assign those to the black dolls. But the thing that was the most harmful about one of those things I saw was there was a black kid, she was doing the doll test, and she said, so she was assigning all the negative attributes to the blackness, and then when they asked her which doll more looks like you, she pointed to the black doll. So she was calling herself, in that sense, like, you know, maybe indirectly, mean and bad and misbehave and all of these negative attributes. And I think that a lot of times black people can do that. I would call you a pretty self-hating black man, to be honest. Because, for example, you make statements
You
like...
call me that?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, good. You call me that?
Yes.
What do you call me?
A pretty self-hating black man.
What the?
Yeah, listen.
And why?
It's not to be offensive.
No,
I think
no,
it's just
be offensive.
Okay, well, all right, but it's just that
And
you
why?
say things like, I'm black and I'm slow, or I'm black and I'm dumb. And it's like you assign these negative attributes towards black people, which are just not universally applied. We could look at white people in Appalachia and see something that we could see some pretty dumb white people there too.
So when I
think
say
dumbness is just a general thing that can apply to all humanity.
When I say I'm black and slow, the black people think I'm talking about all blacks.
I think when you say you're black and you're black and you're slow, we recognize that there are these stereotypes that already exist, and so then when you reaffirm that thing, your white audience views that thing and says to themselves, "See, so black people are pretty slow." They tend to apply those things.
So you
generally,
say when
would
I say I'm black and slow,
people will assume
white people and
assign that
black
to
people
all.
think I'm talking about all black people.
I recognize that you obviously have to know the difference between that, but I don't think everyone's thinking so deeply about it, and I would say that some of your constituency will assign those attributes across the board.
And why do you think that?
Because we already see that it happens on a regular basis.
What do you mean by that?
Well, for example, some of the times where you will mention things like criminality within black men, right? Or criminality within whatever. And so you'll have these people that just automatically assume that black people in general are this way. And so then it's hard for people to distinguish between individuals when they're thinking generally. And I would say
But
that's
how do
why.
you know that that's what white people think, though?
Well, so there's a number of studies that have already suggested things like, obviously when it comes to like hiring, there were studies that like demonstrated that even black and white people with the exact same resumes, when applying for a job, the black people were getting 50% less callbacks because some of these people in these positions have negative stereotypes about black people, which makes them feel like they shouldn't extend to them the opportunity of their direct employment.
So do you think that if black people were to stop being that way, being all mean and loudmouth and dirty and hating the whites and being
There's that
late,
black hatred. I mean, there's that self-hatred I was talking
being
about.
late,
Was I on time today?
and complaining, do you think if white people acted differently, the normal people would see them differently?
I think black people already act differently. So we already recognize that black women are literally some of the most educated demographic in the country right now by a percentage. We recognize already that, again, criminality is not very common within black culture. It's disproportionately found in black culture.
It's very common.
It's disproportionately found in black culture.
Disproportionately common.
Folks, let me know what you think in the comments, but when this guy talks about self-hatred and he's trying to assign that to Jesse, honestly, the way that he's already admitted to code switching and changing his behavior and all the things about himself, I feel like he's projecting. I feel like this is the guy with self-hatred. Jesse's just being, Jesse. He's just being himself, but this guy is the one who's changed everything about himself and the way he acts, the way he talks, he code switches, he claims he only dates black women, but he used to date all sorts of women. I think this is the guy with the self-hatred. And now he wants to play wordplay and say criminality is disproportionately found. No, like Jesse Lee Peterson, I in my opinion, obviously sees through that BS. Like, no, it's not disproportionately found. It's just more common. Like, that's all it is. It's not disproportionately. There's just more of it. Like, don't play the wordplay, don't split hairs, like, just call it what it is. But hit that like button if you're enjoying the video, and let's get back in.
Proportionately found in black culture, but do you think that the average black person is a criminal?
Yeah.
So you would say more than 50% of black people are criminals?
Maybe a little bit more than that.
Oh my Lord. So, okay,
But let me ask you this,
I can see that lack of information is where that self-hatred comes
But let
from.
me come back to something. if black people were to act civilized,
I think we
do
do.
you think the rest of the world would see them in that way?
I think black people act civilized.
No, you're not answering the question. If they stop robbing and stealing and
The majority of
killing
black people don't rob
and hating
or steal
cops and
or kill.
and begging for affirmative action and reparation and free stuff, would the rest of the world see them as normal people if they act normal?
Do you think, first off, I'm just going to say, the average black person doesn't steal. Criminality is still going to be the minority of African Americans. So if we take 100 African Americans, not 50% of them are going to be criminals, right?
So if black
So then that
people
means
were
the
to
majority of them
act-
aren't criminals.
If they were to act normal, would we see them differently?
What do you mean by act normal?
Stop being blaming and begging and robbing and killing.
So
and they
the majority of black
even
people
when
don't rob, kill,
when they go into
or
the
beg.
schools, when they want to get into the white schools,
Mm-hmm.
we have to lower the standards to let them in because they say the SAT score is white.
Jesse,
The everything's white.
Who's the largest recipient of affirmative action?
That's not what I asked you.
Really quickly. No, I got you, but this is really related to what you're saying. Hold on.
I need an answer for that.
I got you.
first.
Just listen to this really
No,
quickly.
no.
Okay,
if
go
they
ahead.
acted differently, would we treat them differently?
I don't believe
Or see them.
that. I don't believe that black people act the way you're saying. So I don't understand. So that your question doesn't really seem well founded.
You don't know we have to lower the standard to let them into the white schools?
It's crazy that you say that when the largest recipient of affirmative action is white women. Did you know that?
Do you know that we have to lower the standard to let the blacks in?
Are we lowering the standard to let white women into
You're not
school?
answering the question.
I don't. That's not the case.
No, we don't lower it for the white women, just the black ones.
I listen, Jesse. I scored in the top 5% of my entire state, so They didn't have
But
to
that was
lower any sort of
affirmative
thing.
action.
No.
Yeah, I guarantee you didn't earn it.
I outscored all of my state on state testing. I was in the top 5 percentile.
Right.
So while you might say that's
But
affirmative
that's
action,
not real though.
what's not real?
Because behind the curtain they lowered the standard. They saw there was a black student, so they lowered it.
I don't think you have an accurate understanding
I'm
of how
telling you the
affirmative
truth.
action works.
At UCLA, they lowered the standard so low now you can't find your way out. So that the
Jesse,
blacks
poor
can get
thing.
in.
Okay, listen. I'm sorry. You don't understand how affirmative action works. I don't know how to.
No, I do
really-
understand how it works.
You think that they
Lower
lower
the standard.
Do you think
So
they
the-
lower the test scores, or they lower the standard for when someone would
Everything
get
at this
into?
point. At
So
first
they
it-
just raise the test scores of black kids?
No, they lower it for the blacks and bring them.
Okay.
I mean, they lower it for the whites and bring it up for the blacks.
Like the test scores.
So they can pretend that the blacks are earning it.
The test scores?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If it wasn't for affirmative action, blacks would not be in white schools.
Oh, okay. I
Because
mean,
you-
I don't know how else to engage with it. I think I outscored like the vast majority of white kids. I outscored
But
the
that's
vast
hard
majority
to
of the
believe
state.
because you're black, and I know that.
That's that self-hatred.
I know that blacks are not earning their way.
Oh, man, see, that's that internalized racism. You
Why is that
automatically-
internalized to
Well,
face
because-
reality?
No, it's not
Or face
reality.
reality.
Jesse.
Who begged for affirmative action?
So,
Who begged for affirmative action?
white women, they get
No.
it the most.
They got it because they everybody use blacks to get what they want when they want dirty stuff. But what race is fighting for affirmative action?
White women, because they get it the most.
You're not being honest.
I'm being completely honest.
No, it's black people.
Do you think that
Where do you live in America?
Of course.
You don't act like it.
Huh?
You don't act like it.
How do I act?
Like you don't know what's going on.
Folks, let me know in the comments what you think, but I have never heard anyone ever give an answer to the question of who's asking for affirmative action as white women. I've never heard that before. Now, to Jesse Lee Peterson's point about, white women using other people, like, okay, yeah, I can see part of that argument. But to respond with white women are not a race. Like that's not a race. Like at this point, Jesse's right. Like you're just being dishonest. Like you're just being outright dishonest because, man, this is a straightforward question. And when you can't answer simple, straightforward questions like that, with basic facts that we all already know, like the whole gender thing, trans and all that, it's like, nah, like you're not really in the game. Folks, put down in the comments what you thought about what Jesse Lee Peterson had to say trolling this pro-black guest who believes that white women apparently are a race. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.